to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I can have everybody stand just for one moment, please. I'd like to have a moment of silence for the victims at Kabul airport suicide bombings, including our 13 servicemen and women that passed away. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Can you take roll call for the record, please?
Sure. Commissioner Baco,
Here.
Commissioner Whitaker,
Here.
Commissioner Godioso,
Here.
Commissioner Rakowski,
Here.
Commissioner Neary,
Here.
Lisa Catania,
Here.
Michael Pierce,
Here.
myself, George Needles, present.
Thank you. At this moment in time, I will take citizen comments. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to talk? Just, we know you, but if you state your name and address for the record, please.
Susan Mulvihill, 40 Brentwood Road. I'm just here from the library to update you on things that are going on. As you probably have already seen, the book sale will commence selling next Wednesday. We have it almost all fixed up, thanks to the good citizens and volunteers from Upper Chichester. There will be a special preview sale on Wednesday. That will be from 8 to 10, first lookers. And then from 10 to 8, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And on Saturday, 8 to 3. The friends from the library will be selling raffle tickets for a gift card treat. It's worth more than $400. $100. Their biggest giver was $100 from Wegmans. All the other cards are from Upper Chichester businesses. The tickets are $1, one for $5, and free for 10. We'll be selling them here and then at the library afterwards. We want to especially invite all of you commissioners, all of you employees, on Friday night from 5 to 8, we will be celebrating the 20th anniversary of the library. 20 years. That will be up here. Pardon?
That's Friday, September 10th?
Friday, September 10th from 5 to 8. The Delco cruisers will be here with their cars to look at. There will be a food truck. There'll be cake. And we hope all of you can stop by. And the book sale will be going on. So if your family wants to come and look at the books, please bring them along. I'm sure the music man will be here too. And then October 15th, we will be having a designer bag bingo with a mystery book in each bag. And that will be, the doors will open at 5 and the game begins at 6. Tickets in advance are $30 and $35 at the door. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's no other citizens' comments. We will move on to our professionals' reports, and we'll start off with our township engineer, Ms. Lisa Catania.
Thank you, Mr. President. You do have a copy of my report. Just a few things that we have for agenda items and information. The first is that we will have a payment request for the Chichester Avenue Streetscape. I hope everybody's had a chance to take a drive down. It's really made, I think, a difference in that particular neighborhood. So we're really pleased with that. Premier is proposing to do the last section shortly. We've sent them a revised plan that we've received. We're waiting for comment from Energy Partners. They would not allow us to put the walkway through the area where the pipeline was. So we revised that plan. I know Commissioner Whitaker's seen that plan and okayed it. So as soon as we get the okay from Energy Partners, they'll finish that piece. That's along Johnson Avenue. The 2021 road program is scheduled for September the 7th. Hopefully, we don't see any raindrops. They will be starting milling. You should have a copy of a schedule where where they're going to start milling and paving. Uh, we did it for a social media. I don't know if it's in here, George, and I didn't bring it with me. It is in here. I'm sorry. Thank you. The we're looking that the project will take approximately 3 weeks to do. And obviously that schedule is also weather permitting. We have rain. We certainly can't pave. We can do some milling depending on how heavy the rain is. There's a few land development projects that are still moving on. We're waiting for revised plans from AutoZone. They're under construction, as you know. The building is probably the shell is about 40% up at this point. They had some changes that they wanted to make with the propane tank that was on the approved plan. We would not allow them to put the propane tank along Chichester Avenue. So they told us they would go back to the drawing board, see where they could place it. We have not seen anything from them as of yet. Wawa, as you can see, things are moving along, canopies up. They have started footings for the building. They put the sanitary line in. The tanks are in. They're not backfilled at this point, but you can see the fuel tanks are in. We had a meeting, Brian Seidel, PHC, and I had a meeting this afternoon to talk about the Gibbons Park wall, and alternatives. There's some issues with that particular the lettering that's on it. So we were looking at various options there, as well as the fence and how we wanted to see the fence installed along the pillars. So that project is moving along. We're going to be seeing landscaping sometime the end of September. They don't want to put the plants in until we have some better weather, so the plants will survive. We are waiting for information from Willowbrook Clubhouse as far as their punch list. We're still waiting. Have they completed the SDCA work that needed to be done? The Dunkin' Donuts, we received some plans today from Dunkin' Donuts. So I know that they met with the Planning Commission last week, and we're hoping that we'll be seeing their revisions. They right now have a well for their potable water. They were proposing a well, and now they're looking at a water main extension so that they can service the facility appropriately. I have not seen those plans as of yet, so the land development plans will be changing. I'm expecting that they'll be back to the Planning Commission in October, and we'll be able to take a look at that for an approval in November if everything goes well. The Larry Jackson, as you know, the project was withdrawn. The application was withdrawn. Have not seen anything from 650 Cherry Tree at this point. I have not seen anything from 820 Columbia. We were supposed to be looking for a land development. There's a warehouse that is going in the second proposed lot. If you recall, we had been in receipt of a subdivision plan to take the one lot that was TNT. Their TOT would be located on one lot. The other was a vacant lot. That's both in Upper Chi and Lower Chi, the second lot. They did submit to Lower Chi. However, they did not submit to Upper Chi for that warehouse that's being built. So we're still waiting on that. Jake's Fireworks, I did receive the plans for recording, and hopefully before next Thursday, I'll have them here so that they can be signed for recording. I believe all of the other items are in order for that particular project. Community Development Block Grant, I wanted to give you a heads up that the 2019 project, which was the the signs. I met with the contractor. As you know, we've made some changes to the signs. He's supposed to be getting pricing for us so we can move forward with that. I'd like to get that finished before the 2022 Community Development Block Grant season. We should be getting those letters if we haven't already, probably the end of September, early October, and we'll have to have a hearing. So I'll put together again some potential projects for consideration. We've got some stormwater project. I'm not going to go through all of those. You have a listing of those in my report. And otherwise, I can report general progress.
Any questions for our engineer?
I think we may have gotten the 820 project, the plans, because they were in my bin today.
Oh, they
came
are in?
yesterday
Okay,
afternoon.
thank you. Yeah,
Just
I
to let you
hadn't, I usually get a notification that they're in my bin, but, okay, thank you.
Any other board members have questions for our township engineer? Not, we'll move on to our township solicitor's report. Mr. Michael Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I previously introduced, Dan Van Wyk, he's going to be standing in for me next week at the regular meeting as I will be up at the Bench Bar Conference. Dan is an excellent attorney. I've known Dan for probably 30 years, and he'll do fine by you, but I wanted to give him a chance to meet the board before we went right to the meeting, and he showed up and was giving the reports. But Dan has a lot of municipal experience. Not only that, and his military background should make it perfect for him to handle any issues that come up. So I have complete confidence in Dan to be able to do that. You have a copy of my written report in the file. Today, there are several matters that will come to the board's attention. The tentative closing date for the bond issue is going to be September 14th. That will be done all virtually. We're in the process of getting all the final paperwork and approvals together. We expect to have the approval from the Department of Community Affairs on September 9th, which will give us sufficient time to go forward with the closing. But everything is on track. We did get some excellent pricing on the bonds, and thanks to the good work of George and the other finance members on that team, we were able to put together so far, which has been a seamless project. The FOP negotiations, George and I responded and put together our response letter. We had received an impasse letter, excuse me, from the FOP indicating they wanted to appoint arbitrators and keep the matter moving, but at the same time, continue in the negotiations. So we did our response letter, appointed our arbitrator, and in the meantime, put our issues with them to paper so that they are aware of what concerns and issues we have related to ongoing police contract negotiations. And I'll just leave it at that. We don't negotiate those things, obviously, at a public meeting, but I just wanted to give you an update as to where we were and that both the negotiating team and George and myself are on top of that. Somerset Development, we've continued to have discussions. We've received revised plans today, at least the engineer did. I would not purport to be able to understand exactly what revisions were made, how they were related, and if they were sufficient. I will leave that to the engineer. At some point in time, we will need to discuss how we're going to proceed with this project and the township's involvement from a financial perspective. I did express some concerns to the township manager as to how we were going to go about that. And I needed to find out what level of financial commitment we were going to be making before I can make a final decision on some of those aspects. But we will do what we can to continue to move that project along. The discussions are continuing. As it relates to the Wawa project, we did receive a request for an intermunicipal transfer of a liquor license. Therefore, we would need authorization at next week's meeting to advertise for a public hearing related to the placement of a liquor license at the Wawa store. In October would be the public hearing, but we would require to be advertising that prior to the October meeting. We did invoke our 60-day time limits extension that we are entitled to by statute, and the attorney for Wawa representing those individuals requesting the liquor license, has been notified, and she's in agreement with that. Her understanding is that we would be considering that at the September meeting for authorization to advertise the public hearing, and I would anticipate that would be before one of the October meetings, and therefore we can go on from there. Let me just take a look. Creekside, the notice of default and the default letter was sent to Mr. Costa pursuant to the board's direction at the last couple of meetings. I did send a copy of that to Mr. Neary and to the township. There were time limits placed on that particular corrective action that needed to be done, and we outlined that. That was sent certified mail. We have not received the certification back yet, but we'll do so and provide the same to the township when we get the signed copy back.
Any questions for our township solicitor?
I just wanted to thank the solicitor for getting that out. I know the residents I sent a copy of it without all of the header and everything, but I sent it to the COA president, and he wanted to thank you for doing that and did request the receipt when you get it, that I can
Absolutely.
tell him when the countdown begins.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. The other matters, we continue, as you can see in the report, we continue to work on multitude of matters specifically related to the property maintenance issues. We are continuing to stay on that. I've been working with Keith and with Charlie on those particular aspects in the multiple hearings that we've had in the magisterial district justice. And other than that, most of the matters were routine in nature, and absent any other questions, that would be my report.
Yeah, on your one report, can we get a copy of that? Is there a waiver on hand for the fire department for the exercise room?
They asked me to review that, and I reviewed that. He just sent it to me by email,
No.
the draft of that. I don't have a copy. I mean, I have a copy in my computer, but I didn't print it out.
I mean, I like to see I'd like to have the board say it. Only reason I'm concerned about the work, since we cover workman's comp,
Mhm.
this is an exercise room.
Yeah, they
And-
did address that with our workers' comp carrier, our insurance carrier, from a liability perspective. And they provided them the requirements that they needed, and that was incorporated into the sign up and the release. But I'll forward you a copy of the.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have a
Waiver.
copy
Yep.
here for George on hand,
Sure.
so we do definitely have it on.
Yeah, I think George
File.
has his I think George already has a copy of that, so he can probably send it right to you.
That's fine. Thank you.
The fire company is trying to put together an exercise
Right.
workout room. And they asked me to look at the release and the sign up things that each member who utilizes that room would have to sign, an acknowledgement and a waiver of liability.
Through their lawyer to ours, and my concern was, we cover the workman's comp. If somebody gets hurt, how are we liable for it when
Right.
it's on that point? I just want to make sure we have it here on record, that's all.
Yep.
Just for technical question for myself, workman's comp, you would have to be injured at work or? to be
While on
injured-
duty, yep.
Yeah, so,
Yep.
okay. No, but we should look at it still. Any other questions for our solicitor? If not, we move on to our manager's report, Mr. George Needles.
All right, good evening, everybody. We continue the escrow release project that we're working on through our new financial software. We'll have 3 escrow releases this month. 2 of them date back to 2017 and 1 is much newer. The sending out of the reminders to all the project owners on a monthly basis has really spurred a lot of activity for us to release these, which is good because a lot of these we were sitting on money for 3-4 years after the projects were completed. So that's a good thing. Finance director search update. We continue to work forward through this with Dave Walgum, and hopefully we'll have an action item for this upcoming meeting. You have in front of you the Linwood Heights plan that we are recommending that you adopt. There's 3 things included in there. You have the abridged report. This was taking the work that was done from the Delta Group and kind of looking at it from a different way of thinking, getting more concrete, actionable items that we can achieve over the next 15 years to try to better that neighborhood. They also have a matrix that was put together, which is like a summary matrix of all the potential projects and action items. And then you have the resolution to adopt that plan. That was given out last month for review and comment. The abridged version is a culmination of the township professionals kind of going through that report and helping come up with more actionable items. So I think that is, in my opinion, and I believe in everybody else, is ready to go. In addition to the plan, myself and Brian Siddell were out last Friday morning. We met with the Delaware County Commerce Department. They had asked for us to be one of the municipalities in Delaware County that they toured with their consultants who are going to work on the economic development plan for Delaware County. As you remember, we kind of started some activity with the county planning department back in 2016 by getting the Boothwyn Town Center designated as a central place. We continued on that, working with them with the 322 revitalization plan, getting them to designate that as a commercial corridor. And now we are working with them again to get the Linwood Heights neighborhood kind of designated as a redevelopment area. So we'll continue to work forward with that, and we'll have information to report out and action items as we go through that. You have your MMOs in front of you for next year. This is a little complicated. These are not the numbers that we've talked about previously with the bond. These are the full numbers. So once the bond is closed on the 14th and funded on the 17th, under Act 205, there are recalculations of our MMOs. So our current year MMO will be recalculated. This year MMO will be recalculated, and then the next year MMO will be recalculated. So we'll have the numbers that line up with the numbers with what the bond are. So these are substantially higher than what the MMO will be, because these include all of your amortized costs from previously being underfunded, which no longer exist anymore now that we are funded through the bond. Budget finance meeting Monday, September 27th at 6 p.m. will be our budget finance meeting. Between now and then, we'll be meeting with all the department heads again to kind of go through the budgets, clean up those numbers a little bit. After that 27th, we will schedule the meetings to meet with the department heads and the commissioners to go through the final run through of all that and prep of our preliminary budget. The bond update, Mike gave some of the information there, and I just gave information. The 14th and the 17th of the 9th, 14th and 17th are the key dates. The 17th is the direct deposit of those funds into the investment accounts. So that's when we'll start to see the return on our investments. Delco Greenways grant application. Brian has been working with Lisa Catania on preparing a Delco Greenways grant application. We looked through the program and we're looking for projects that made the most sense based off of what they're looking to achieve out at the county. They want to fund projects that are coming out of planning documents. And we have, years ago, we completed the US 322 revitalization plan that identified CBL ball field as a key recreational asset in the community. Earlier this year, the Board of Commissioners approved a mini plan on CBL for improvements to that field, and the application will be applying for $250,000 towards the installation of a walking trail and fitness stations. So the idea is to not only give people better access to get in and around throughout the park there, but also try to find a way to make it a 12-month park that people go there in the off season as well. I think that's all I've got for tonight.
That escrow refund. Withdrawing that plan now?
No. This, so, and they initially years ago, remember one of the times they came in to talk to us, but never said they submitted, that was one of them. That's the $400 one. They put up a
Withdrawing
pre-plan.
the latest plan.
No, the other one is for, they came to us asking to change it to industrial zoning, and they started that. So it's just that stuff.
Make sure they weren't withdrawing the last out of it. You know?
Any other questions for our township manager?
And I just want to make a comment for the whole board and George and the committees for this Delco Greenway grant. That was one of the reasons we keep going over the Linwood Heights to Boothwyn Town Center, the 322 project. Now that we've done all this, it gives us more leverage to apply for these grants. And that's something this whole board, I want to give kudos out to, because we, that's why we're doing this. And if the residents, we give them the reason for Linwood Heights to develop it for redevelopment. The baseball fields on the 322 Boothwyn Town Center. So there's projects throughout the whole township that, people are wondering why we're doing this and this. And this is one of the reasons, is to be able to apply through the county to try to get some of these grants. So I just thank everybody that's been on board for the last, I know we've been working 322 forever, it seems like, in Linwood Heights for the last 3 years. The past year for the Boothwyn Town Center, and I'm sure there's going to be more down the road. So that's one of the reasons that we do this. Just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rakowski. Appreciate those words. If there's no other questions for our township manager, we'll move on to our commissioners report, and we'll start off with our vice chairman, Commissioner Joe Bacco.
Start out with highway and sanitation. We got a couple more guys down. I don't know if I can say why or why not. They're shorthanded some more. They were out all night last night. So, walking away here, getting some stuff done. Basically, that's all I'm saying. We're down a few more, is all I could say. Street lighting, traffic signals, everybody knows the project down on Chichester Avenue. The lights look good. One of them got hit tonight, so I'm sure it'll get repaired. But it looks good. It looks better than I thought it was going to. I got to admit. And sewer, water, and utilities. Some emails going around about this 537 stuff. We got to get on. I mean, we got a lot of work, don't we?
Just to give you just a real quick overview, and it's really a quick overview. DEP is requiring that Delco through their current 537 update their plan, do some infiltration, I&I. So Southern Delaware County is going to be responsible for the I&I portion of that. This new assets 537 that's out is actually for the planning for the next 10 years. And it's not going to affect Upper Chichester Township. It's more so that Delco wants to get the flows from out of the city of Philadelphia. Right now, the eastern portion of Delaware County actually flows towards, goes through pump stations and up to the Southwest plant in Philadelphia. We get surcharged for that. All of the users for Delco get surcharged for that. So they have come up with various alternatives, and we saw those first alternative plans probably, I want to say 5 years ago. All of the municipalities were invited to a meeting talking about building another plant. Is there a storage facility? Blah, blah, blah. Well, inventiveness of some of the design consultants that Delco had, they actually have determined that the best course of action, or the alternative that they've selected, is actually a tunnel. So they're really mining anywhere from 80 to 100 feet from the Darby Creek pump station down to Chester to the plant. So the sewage will be conveyed through that, but as well, there is storage capacity. It's going to be an 11-foot diameter boring that they're going to do. That is, it's going to be really interesting to see. There's going to be some more meetings on it, but what they're looking for is for all the municipalities in Delaware County to review the plan. It has to get reviewed by the Planning Commission, and then approve that plan so that DEP can then review it. And hopefully it doesn't take another 2 years as it did the last time when DEP did a review.
Not to cut into Joe's report, but are we required to approve it? Is this a state law that we're going to have to enforce?
It's probably going to benefit us to approve it. but
Yeah. It's a DEP requirement that all the municipalities review and approve it. I don't know what the ramification would be if a municipality or two says absolutely not, they're not. Typically, DEP has some kind of a trigger that if you've tried to get the approval or the sign off from a certain group, whether it's a municipality or one of the other authorities, if you've proven that you've tried and there's no action taken, then typically they'll go through with the plan.
Basically, it's, over the long term, it's going to save Delcor a ton of money.
It's going to save Delcor a ton of money, and which means it's going to save all of its clients a ton of money. You're looking, the curve that they showed with Delcor is the fees were going straight, and with this particular plan, you see it kind of level off.
So essentially, our planning commission will review it, make a recommendation whether the board should adopt it or not, and the board has the final decision to adopt it.
That's correct.
What basically is happening in short terms, all this certain area, like Lisa said, goes to Philadelphia. They treat it and charge Delcor. Delcor is going to expand it, the plan a little bit, directly pump it right to themselves, eliminate the middle. Long-term savings.
Yeah,
I got you to jump in because I didn't know other.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
The city
I'm glad you did.
the city of Philadelphia has what they call the long-term plan that they're in an agreement with DEP. I think EPA as well, but I know it's DEP. The reality is that we're paying not only Delcora's long-term control issues, but we're also paying for city of Philadelphia's. So we're gonna be reducing that cost to the.
This last storm probably cost Delcor pretty bad, because what happens is they're obligated to not go over a certain amount they send to Philly. Heavy rains like this, they'll pass that amount, and the penalties are like 7 times. That'll go away now. Thanks for your help, please.
Okay with Somerset? Or you want to, or you want to talk to Lisa and then get back to
We're
us?
trying to hammer it out. So
Okay.
we're close to the end, and like Mike just said, we got to decide on what we want to work out on our end.
If you can talk to them about, we should, like, next week, talk about how much we want to. And my biggest concern is making sure that the HOA notify the residents. We have something in writing from them saying that they understand that this
They
is.
already have a letter going out like that.
Okay, great. That this
Mike's
is,
been working on that with their attorney.
solution relieves the problem, but it's not a. I'm fine with helping you all.
And we're not,
Responsible for it.
Mike's got that covered.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right?
Yep. Any other questions for our vice chairman? We'll move on to Commissioner Nicole Whitaker's report.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Library, you heard the library's report. Thank you. They're also having a soup sale as well. So they're going to be doing that out of the library. So you can place your order, you have to pay for it in advance, and pickups actually at the library this year as opposed to Creekside. We'll give more information about that as we get closer to the date. Some upcoming things for recreation. September 11th is 20th anniversary. Lower Chi, Upper Chi, Marcus Hook and Trainer are getting together. Emergency services to have a parade next Saturday. We'll provide more details about that next week. We heard from George about the Delco Greenways grant. We're going to be working on, Brian's working on that. And CBL, you saw that in your packet of what they're trying to, I think these are the upgrades that they want to do with CBL. I know, George, you had talked to Brian about that briefly about, I believe they raised money, CBL raised money, they wanted to do some improvements. I was just looking at this estimate in here. Is that what, okay, so basically they wanted to do some upgrades, and the discussion I had with Brian was that I know that we have the Master Parks and Recreation Plan happening right now, and so we wanted to keep that in mind. So we gave them, I told them to go back to them, give them the option of, hey, do you want to save this money, wait till we get the those plans done to see what it includes. So hold your money until then and use it in a way that would benefit, have greater use at the time. Or, the board can discuss allowing them to go ahead and make the improvements that they want to do for next season. That's the
We certainly could, and I think the thing that we've got to look at, sent an email to Brian today. He and I are supposed to get together tomorrow, via phone or Zoom or something, because of the cost the estimates that I have. So the question would be, how far do we go? Are we breaking it off at 250, or he'll probably be discussing that with you, George. But as far as these, it's not going to affect. We sat down probably 3 months ago, 4 months ago, Brian Seidel, Brian Warren, and I, and talked about what's really the priorities. Where are we going to spend our money first for this particular plan? And we came up with, to diversify the area, to have more use out of it, the first things that would be done would be that outside trail system, the a parking area upgrade, and some of the and all the lighting, the pedestrian lighting, so that people could utilize that walkway during the winter months more so than anything else. So I think we have that potential of creating whatever we'd like. I do have a meeting set up. It's for the other municipalities that I represent as well, with Jean Lynch. It was supposed to be this morning, and she had to cancel because of a personal commitment that she ended up having. So we're probably going to do that next week. So we're talking about all these projects and how we can get them into the DCNR grant program. What do we need to do to upgrade our game to get them approved?
So Joe, the meeting with Jean Lynch is the first phase for the DCNR grant. And that is recreation grants that come right after this Delco Greenways. It's how we did the master parks plan. We combined both of those grants. So I remember this now. The conversation we had was, let's look to see if there's a way we can do this so they don't have to spend
Right.
their money.
right.
So,
Right.
But-
And
The one big project they wanted to do, not that it's that big, is they want to regrass the infields.
on a plan.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I said to Brian, was to, tell them if they were able to wait, then we probably could get it funded through the grant. Either save the money that they raised and invested in something else. I
Just-
told,
Just as an FYI, I have $20,000 in for landscaping. So in talking to Brian Seidel this afternoon, he thought we could massage that if needed. So we could probably put it in this particular grant.
okay, perfect. The community day is going to be Saturday, October the 9th. That's a partnership with the school district. There'll be a parade and some other events. We'll, again, provide more details about that as we get closer to that day. Heart and Soul, the month of August focused on the last round of surveys. They sent surveys out and through a collaborative letter with the fire company to 6,500 households. So we'll see what they get back from that. And just as a follow-up, the Delco Greenways grant that we talked about there, that is due September 13th. So it looks like we're going to be applying for that. And then finally, I just wanted to reiterate the improvements that were made on Chichester Avenue, the brick crosswalks and the lantern style lighting. Definitely improves that area. It looks very nice, and looking forward to seeing what the next phase of that project that we get accomplished. So it looks really, really good. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have just some notes. I did speak with Rocky Gaspari, chairman of the Lower Chichester Board of Commissioners, and I believe we talked about calling, instead of calling a parade, calling it a memorial procession. I believe that's what we will be calling the event. That's here in Upper Chichester and then in Lower Chichester's Municipal Park. Also, our fall parade will be in conjunction with the school district, as Mr. Whitaker said. The only thing that I would just like to point out is if there's any outside organizations that would like to participate, I'm being told that they have to reach out to the school district to coordinate that, since they're leading the parade effort. I'm just putting that out. So I'm just letting the Board of Commissioners. Then I reached out about having a meeting with Heart and Soul at the beginning of long.
Okay.
So I was hoping maybe we could either do that just to see where they stand at with
Okay.
everything. What I have. Any other questions for Commissioner Whitaker? If not, we'll move on to Commissioner Ed Rakowski's report.
Thank you. The report should be on file next week. The Boothman Town Center reports in the file tonight. The emergency management's in there tonight. Like I said, the surveys went out with the Boothman Town Center, and the Heart and Soul went out to the fire department's address list. So hopefully it's a lot of envelopes open, 6,500, but usually you will not get 6,500. You'll get maybe a total of 28. So that 2,800. So that'd still be, if we could get some response on those surveys, that would be great. The emergency management, we were fortunate again here in Upper Chi, in our area. A lot of other places around us got hit pretty hard. That's why in the report, FEMA has put September as Tornado Preparation Month. We will be monitoring that through FEMA and putting anything we have on the webpage, on the social media, the TV channels. Weekly, there's different topics for it. Even though they didn't meet, August was pretty busy. I mean, we just had Hurricane Ida, the remnants of her. We had Tropical Storm Fred. We had Tropical Storm Andre. And we were spared all three of them. We were very fortunate around here. We did lose some power over there in Canterbury Woods for a little bit. But other than that, minor flooding here. Nothing like everybody else. Like I said, and kudos to the firemen that were out there in the highway department. So, and they will be back up meeting September 13th is their scheduled meeting for the emergency management. They're still looking for volunteers. If anybody would like to come in and volunteer, residents, more than welcome to come on up. And that's it. And we're doing pretty good right now. And George, I'll have your numbers for the budget shortly.
Any questions for Commissioner Rakowski? We'll move on to Commissioner Conier's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The financial reports and the police report will be available for next week's meeting. And you do have a list of bills for the past 2 weeks. And once again, just reiterating that there will be a budget meeting 9/27 at 6 o'clock. And as I said before, thanks to the solicitor for the demand letter because the residents are very happy about it. I've heard from the president of the COA. And outside of that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Commissioner Neary? If not, we'll wrap up with my report. We went over the applications for planning, I believe zoning, the 3210 Market Street for the t-shirt shop. That's going before the planning, before the zoning board next week. 4881 Chichester Avenue, the hotel. I believe it was planning commission is recommending for approval. I'm not too sure what all those conditions are yet, but hopefully we can work everything out. I'm sure that we can. So they're going to be coming before the planning. They're going to be coming before the Board of Commissioners in October, correct? Get from now until then, hopefully to resolve any unsolved issues or unresolved issues. Also, I'd like to have an update from our engineer regarding the Saldo review with the planning board.
I had conversation with Charlie Fisher to go through the memo that I sent, so everyone is aware. Brian Seidel and I were tasked with taking a look at the current subdivision land development ordinance as well as how we could improve the ordinance, update the ordinance. Based on the Delaware County saldo, which is the newer saldo that is available to us, we determined that the best thing to do would be to use that saldo as a template for Upper Chichester Township. And then in discussions with the board president and manager, we determined that we have a lot of specifications that are in our current ordinance that we are updating, and we are making those as separate items. So our saldo, our current saldo will actually, or our new saldo will be updated as well as abridged, if you want to call it that. It'll give us the opportunity to update our signal designs, our signage designs, our streetscape. And I'll give you an example. Right now in your current saldo, you actually have the Tom Committa streetscape for Chichester Avenue. That's still in there, and that's got to be 25 years old. So versus us putting something like that back into the saldo, and I'm using that merely as an example, we'll be able to put those in as an appendix. As well, DEP is requiring next year by 2022, we update the stormwater ordinances in the Southeast region. So we have the template from DEP. We're going to be doing that as well. Charlie thought that was a good start. What I told him we would be doing is going to Planning Commission at various intervals, asking for their input, and he thought that was a good path forward.
But just, I believe when, and I made known to the Board of Commissioners that me, you, George, and Brian met at a meeting. I think the plan forward was to actually come up with a draft saldo for them to review.
That's right.
And our goal was to consolidate it, maybe 50 to 60 pages.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I'll have my section administration reviewed by the next time we meet.
Right.
So we're
George is doing the administration side. I told him that planning commission, one of the things the planning commission was what we were told the planning commission was concerned was them losing authority in the ordinance, and that is not going to happen. I reiterated that with him, assured him that planning commission would have the same powers as they have under the MPC and under
Correct.
the current ordinance. So he was very pleased with that. Brian and I are going to be working on the technical. I obviously have to do the stormwater and some of the others, but we're moving forward that way. The definitions, one of the reasons that we like the Delaware County Saldo is the planning department did a lot of work for us. They took all of the definitions that were available and check them against the MPC definitions. So they are all updated. So that's one of the reasons the definition portion, other than us changing some minor things for Upper Chichester Township, are more or less vetted. So that's good news.
Not to belabor the point, but so to give like the kind of the three high level goals of what we're trying to accomplish, right? So the current saldo does not really speak to redevelopment or kind of speak to the build out environment that we are now. It's kind of, it's dated at this point. So we want something that really will be usable and functional for what we are in, the situation we're in now. The second is it's got to be usable for all levels of users. So we want to get it down to like a 50-page document that's very easy to understand, that doesn't have too complex language in there when it doesn't need to be complex, and is just not overburdensome. And then the third item is like what Lisa alluded to, is these specification manuals. So people will be able to see what the sidewalk needs to look like and what the pattern needs to be in the color on Chichester Avenue. They'll know what are the street signs and what are the emblems that go on those street signs, depending on where they're at. They'll know what the specifications are for traffic lights. They'll know for specifications for, redevelopment of mixed-use buildings. It just makes it a lot easier so people can see exactly what they need to do. And it addresses a lot of things that right now we kind of, ours just doesn't, because it's antiquated.
So, when you touched on sidewalks, so obviously sidewalks and curbs, I would like to see something in there about gutter curbs being permitted to be used in the township also. I know the initial cost might be expensive up front, but I think having gutter curbs throughout the township alleviates snow plows from hitting them, regular size curbs. So that's just a side topic. We can have that conversation later on, but I think it's good.
Yeah, we do.
I
So
know,
that-
but I think they were approved by, if I'm wrong, please correct me. I think they were approved by special waivers or exemptions, but I'm not too sure. But I don't think there's anything in our code that talks about gutter curbs at the moment.
So when we do a complete streets, so we'll have a complete streets design standard that will be like what we'll put in there as like
Right.
options. For
So you could have the option. We actually designed many of the reconstructed roads with valley curb or the gutter curb.
I know that
Um,
throughout the township.
So it is a standard.
Okay.
Do-
Go ahead. I just got one more thing, Ed.
Go
The only
ahead.
thing else I'd like to touch on is I reached out to Craig Williams' office earlier this month. I had some calls from my residents about the 322 project and the schedule of it. So as of Thursday, September 2nd, current schedule is the Section 103, supposed to start in winter of 2023. The 322 CSX, the bridge repair, supposed to start in spring of 2023. Section 102 is supposed to start in summer of 2025. And my apologies, but I got that email on August 26th. I read today's date by mistake.
Mike,
So I just like to,
sorry. She indicated today, I talked to her, that those were the let dates. So you got to add like a year for the construction.
they were the what dates? So We're saying section 103 is going to start in 2024. Right? CSX bridge repair 2024. And then section 102 is 2026. I don't have anything else. Anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, just the one. Do we, for the Saldo, do we actually have an ordinance on record that we, for our streetscape? I know we've been doing it forever and we have the plan. Did we ever really adopt that ordinance? All right, just.
Correct, yes.
All right, just making.
Here's what the ordinance says, however,
Right.
Okay.
One other thing that I should have mentioned is we will also have to be looking at the zoning ordinance because there are many items in the Saldo that also are reflected in the zoning ordinance. So we're going to be looking at the other ordinances to see what we need to change or revise.
For everybody that's listening online or will be listening, I just want to reassure the public about the 322 project. I know there were some comments about here about grass growing high and not being cut. Just want to reassure our township that we are constantly reaching out to PennDOT to have these areas maintained. Sometimes we get a response, sometimes we have to call 3 or 4 times, but we are working with them. We're trying our best. That's trying the best to work with us. They have a backlog of areas that they're maintaining, but we are doing our best to stay on top of everything. I don't have anything else. If there's no new business, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
I just adjourned the meeting, but if you want to talk to us, Craig, you're more than welcome to. So motion and second. All in favor?